Masechta Zevachim. We're starting a new Masechta. We're up to Beis Amud Aleph. We know there's a pasuk that corresponds to the Shisha Sidrei Mishnah. It says V'haya Choisen Yeshuis and V'haya Emunas Choisen Yeshuis Chachmas Vadas, and the word Chachmas corresponds to Kachin. Chachmas corresponds to Kachin. That Kachin gives you the depth, the greatest wisdom. So the Hafla asks, and his best student, the Chassam Sofer, expounds on it, and asks, L'cheira, hareitze sheyachim, yasik b'dinim avanis. So we come to, you're saying that the word Chachmas of Ahoya Chais and Yeshuis, Ahoya Chais and Amunis Yeshuis, because what does that Chachma represents Kachim, but it says about the Sheyachim is to learn the Dinim Amanis, the Zikin. So the Hafla, the Chassam Sofer is more, he expands more, and he says it's an introduction. Somebody wants to become wise physically is talking about when you're talking about the worldly things. Yes, when you're talking about dinim that are not pure, only like chukim, which is chachmei law, but you need the hagdama that you have to be first. The hagdama is to be yachkim through dinim amanis, through the laws of this, for the laws of the worldly things, and that is a hagdama to the chachma ilah, which is kachim. That's what it said. Anyway, we're starting now. We're starting Kol HaZvachim. Let me see. Okay. Kol HaZvachim. All karbanis. Now, usually Zvachim means a shlamim. Here, Zvachim means karbanis. All the karbanis that were slaughtered, shalei l'shman, that not for the sake of that carbon. L'mashal, he designated a carbon should be for a carbon leila. He shachted the carbon leila, but he had in mind l'shem shlamim. So what is it? Or the reverse? Shlamim. He had in mind for shlamim was l'shem leila kshedim. That to finish the avodah, you finish the avodah whatever the original thought was. If it was a oila, continue as a oila with all the dinim of oila. If your original thought was shlamim,
did he make it an oila in the beginning? What did he do?
He says harei zu oila. He's saying this is. And then when he came to shachtar, he had in mind, oh, that's shlamim. It's forget.
He didn't know himself.
Yeah. So, but we say the minute he reminds himself, he goes back and continues. He leaves only that mistake. And he continues like the original carbon, the way it was, all the laws that the original carbon required. That's changed, but it's not. And he's going to. He explains even more. But he has to bring another Eila. He wasn't Yotze L'Chayv. He's just saying, it's not possible. You keep the carbon on his way up. You remind yourself later, but you mark him as Oila, but he's not. He has to bring another Oila. He's not Yotze. Okay. Except if he had a mind, let's say he designated for a Pesach or a Chatos, and he had in mind a different carbon, while it was L'Chatchila for a Pesach, then you have to. If he shachal l'shem Oila l'shem shlamim, it's possible. A Pesach b'zmanim, a Chatos kol hazman. And only when does the Pesach become possible? If he had in mind Pesach and then he did it l'shem shlamim, if it was in the time that you're supposed to bring it. The Pesach and a Pesach, let's say before Chatzos Yom Yudalet or after Yom Yudalet, that's Lach Hazman. It has to be B'Yom Yudalet, meaning Chatzos Hayom of Erev Pesach till the Erev. Then it becomes possible. Anything before that or after that, the Gemara constitutes it as a shlamim anyway. So if he had in mind as a shlamim, and it was before Chatzos, it was after Yudalit, it's anyway it did shlamim. So it's not a problem. It's not going to be possible. It's kosher. Yeah, Pesach. He didn't bring a Pesach. Rabbi Lezer says not only a Pesach and a Chatos are going to be possible if he had in mind for shlamim, Ela Av HaAsham, even a Asham is going to be possible if he shachted the Shalei L'Shmai. A Pesach Bizmane, again, he agrees, Rabbi Lezer agrees with the Tanakama, that the way it becomes possible is only if it was from Chatzos till Erev, in its time, and he had a mind for another carbon, then it's possible. but before and after not. V'achatas v'hasham cholzman. Achatas hasham, if he had a mind for shlamim, it's going to be puzzle all the time. Amar Rabbi Eliezer, achatas ba'achet. Achatas comes for sin. V'hasham ba'achet. And the hasham also comes to forgive. And therefore, since it's the same thing, they're similar. Ma'achatas psul shalei l'shma. Avasham puzzle shalei l'shma. So just like achatas, it's going to be puzzle. If it's shalei l'shma, he had in mind. He set it aside for achatas, and he had in mind the shlamim. So just like achatas, if he didn't, it was shalei l'shma for the chatas. It's puzzle. So to Asher, because they both come to forgive on the sin. No, the Tanakh. Oh, kol hazvachim. It means all the other kabbanis. Eila versus shlamim, not chatas or pesach. No. No, first of all, only the Tanakhama it says chatas, but the Rabbi Lezer adds asham. And now you have Yossi ben Chini Yema, and Shchat Moshe Pesach l'shem chatas, psulim. If he says, let's say he took other karbanis, and by the other karbanis he had specifically in mind, later on, he made a mistake, he says, it was Shlei L'Shma, he said, it's going to be a Pesach. It was really a Eila, it was really a Shlamim. And then he said, oh, this is a Pesach, or he says, this is a Chatas, and really original designation was for a Kav Eila or Shlamim, then the Psulim. So that's what he adds, that even the reverse works. Only the third day holds that way. Shimon Achi Azariah Ima. Now, Shimon, why do we always say Shimon, the brother of Azariah? Why do we say that? Because they had a treaty. Shimon was the one that learned. His brother was Azariah, who was a businessman, and he said, "I will support you. You learn." Yeah, and we split all the schar. By Hillel, he had a brother Shevna. Hillel learned. His brother Shevna was a big businessman. But he woke up later after Hillel became a big sage. He says, let me give you money and let's split. Didn't work. Too late. Okay, so here it says, Shimon Achai Azariah Ima, Shchatan, if he shachted for other kabbanis, L'shem Gavoya, Mehen, to a carbon which is, its kedusha is even greater, Kshem, Mashal. If he had a mind to sacrifice it for Shlamim, and then he had in mind to do it for something that's greater than a shlamim. He gives you all the kodesh kadashim. He's going to give you this kachim kalim and this kachi kachim. Kachi kachim is chatas, asham, oila, and shalmei tzibur. That's kachi kachim. Kachim kalim is shlamim, toida, ayil. I'm sorry, el nazib, chayr, Meiser and Pesach.
So, in other words, if he was supposed to bring the
same. So let's say you had a mind to bring for Kachim Kalim, right? Let's say you're Shlamim, and instead he made a mistake, and for Chatas, then it's fine, it's kosher. But if l'shem namach mehem, let's say you had a lechatchila for a Chatas, and then he changed his mind, made a mistake for Shlamim, then it's psulim. Says you want to Ketzah. He can go low. Very good. Ketzah. How is it? Kachim. Like a oila, I gave you one of the cases of kachim kalim, and he took that oila which was l'shem, which is Ketz Kadashim, kachim. He did it for kachim kalim. There's mashal shlamim. It's kachim kalim. No, I have it over here, the list on the bottom. I'm following. Psulin, it's going to be puzzle. Kachim kalim. What's if he did it, he designated for shlamim? Sheshchatim l'shem kachim, and he had it, and then he said he's doing it for oila. That's a higher level. Then it's ksheira. Then you have abcheir, ma'isa. Sheshchatim l'shem shlamim ksheira, because bcheir and ma'isa are lower than shlamim. Why is it lower than shlamim? What?
Why is it kosher with shlamim?
Which one? Shlamim is kachim kalim. Chayil ma'isa is also kachim kalim. But he says that shlamim is higher than chayil ma'isa. Why? Because shlamim, you need the 4 sprays. You spray on 2 corners and it goes on all 4 corners. When you hit the corner here, it sprays on both sides, and you hit the corner here and it sprays on these 2 sides. Mashain came. The Kachim Kal, B'chayna Maisa doesn't need that. And also, you need smicha by shlamim. The balabas should put his hands on the behema. B'chayna Maisa, you don't need it. Nisachim, Nufas, Chaz, V'sheik. All this doesn't exist by B'chayna Maisa. So therefore, shlamim is greater. So if he did a shlamim, l'shem shlamim, if he took B'chayna Maisa, which is lower than shlamim, and he had a mind for shlamim, they kshayed him. But shlamim sheshachtan l'shem chayil l'shem ma'aser psulim. But if it was the reverse, it's going to be puzzle. Then he tells you, in the Rashi, that the ma'aser b'chayil is higher than ma'aser because the b'chayil kedusha starts merechem, ma'aser starts later, and he brings other and it's only eaten by kahanim, and ma'aser can be eaten by everybody. Okay, so talking about it, lovely. Chayr is higher than Maisa, Shlamim is higher than Chayr Maisa.
If you set something lower,
It's going to be puzzle.
he says it's not.
What?
He says it's kosher, but Chayr Maisa Shehachim Shem Shemayim, Shlamim is Kashem.
Yeah, because Shlamim is higher than Chayr Maisa.
So it's lower.
No, he started off with lower and he had a mind for something higher, then it's kosher.
Why?
Because mind Makodesh, he didn't degrade what he did, but if he degrades,
It's lower.
It came out the fact.
yeah, it's degrading. Okay, so in the Mishnah it says Ella Shloyalo. Listen, the Loyalo Laban Moshe B'chayla say that what's the Ella? He was Yaitse the carbon, but he has to bring another carbon.
Take out the Ella.
What take out the Ella? If you want to Hakmashman, this is what he's come to teach us. He says the Oile wasn't Yaitse but the Kedusha remained. That's what he wants to bring out. That he continues and it's not possible. And the way he designated originally, and he reminds himself what the original, what he set it aside for, he has to stick to those dinim and not change. Like Rabbi said, that was slaughtered not lishma, he cannot spray the blood lishma. Once he figured out what's the carbon, now he's got to stick to it. If I had in mind the I got to stick to what it was. If you want svara, I can give you a svara why not to change, and I can give you a pasuk why not to change. Because he made one mistake. So we should continue on with the mistake and follow the one that he made the laws of the mistake one? No, we have to stick to the original one. You made one mistake, go back to the original one, what you had in mind, and stick to that. Be by saying, if you want, I'll tell you a pasuk. Whatever comes out of your mouth, tishma. You have to eat. You have to watch it. You have to do exactly like you promised. What? Yeah. But it says Nadava. It says Gemara. What are you saying? You're saying it's a kasher nadarta, and then you say Nadava. Look, well, it's a kasher. In fact, you want to hide Nadava? No.
More important than Nadava, right?
So he doesn't understand. You start off with Neder, and then you say it's Nadava. What does that mean? So he says like this. Ella, this is how you have to pasuk. It tights the pasuk, dash in the pasuk. Im k'mashen adata sisa. If you do that, it's akom lishmei, like you did. You heeded your words, like the neder. You hate neder, then it will be a neder. Him loy. But if you made dir shaloi lishma, you said you're designating it chatchila for oila, and then you did lishem shlamim. So then it's an adava here. It'll be an adava. And you're going to ask me, it's an adava. Maybe you can change around the laws. Now it's an adava. Says, what an adava? Just because it's turned into an adava, are you then allowed to change it? No, you have to stay to the original rules or the original covenant that you had in mind.
Keep your word.
Keep your word. I'm like Avinu Papa. A new thing. Avinu said to Papa, "Lo yavis gabon be'urta betchum be'chemach." You, Avinu told Papa, "Where were you yesterday? There was such a beautiful shir from Rabbi. You missed it." He says you didn't come to Chema. The Rabbi Mili Mal Yosa Hadad V'Sham Lahu. Rabbi asked many steers and halachis, and he answered such beautiful answers. In fact, so Papa said, "What did I miss? My Mili Mal Yosa. What was these great words that I missed?"
What happened to a buyer here?
Okay, it's Rabbi. Now I'm going to the Mishnah. Kol hazvach shenizlu shalei lishman. We learned in the Mishnah any korbanis that was slaughtered shalei lishman, it's kosher, but the bailim have to bring another korban. Time, the whole reason is the shalei lishman. What's the reason that he has to bring another korban? Because he didn't have a mind for that korban. Hastama. What about if it would have been geshacht and stam? He didn't have in mind anything. He was like, we daven shmanes, not we. I daven shmanes. I have an empty head, stam. Sometimes. So it's a problem. Yeah. Okay. Olanami liba olim l'shem chayva. So it goes for the bailim l'shem chayva. Alma stam nami kilishman nami. So you see, the only time that it's not going to be kilishman, if he specifically did it shalei lishma, he had in mind another korban.
So if you daven stam, it's okay. Right?
Yeah, if you said the words. Okay, anyway, but Kitsa, he's telling you that if it was stam, he didn't have a specific amount that it should be shalei lishma, it's kosher. Like, what do you mean? I'll ask you a stira. Look by a get. It says, kol ha-get shenichel shalei l'shem isha. Any get that was written, but not for the sake of the woman who's getting divorced. Only for another woman who has the same name as her. Apostle. Ustama nami pasul. So he says, but we know that's only if he specifically wrote a get for one woman who had this name. Now they want to use it for the different woman with the same name. That's when it's possible. But lechera stama should be considered as lishma. If the sefer wrote it, not it's just in case I have a woman with a man with the same name. So it's no. But here it says it's no good. And we just said by Zevachim it is good stama. So Rishani, he answered, well, he can't compare. Zevachim b'stam l'shman eimnim. When somebody designates a korban, he says, I'm giving it for Eila, it's going for Eila. Then later on, his mind went empty. But l'chatchila was designated for Eila. But Isha b'stam l'abdegerish. You can't say the guy wrote it, and he knew this woman is getting divorced. It was stam. It was not. It was no designation like by korban Zevachim. What it was Zevachim is b'stam shenim and olam. How do we know by Zevachim if it was not, he put it for Eila, and then it went, and when he actually was makir of it, it was bistama, he didn't have anything in mind. How do we know it's kosher? So if you want to learn out from this Mishnah, now listen carefully. Kol hazvachim shenizbechu. This lashon is any korban that was slaughtered with the intention shaloi lishman, meaning was a specific loi lishma he had in mind. The loi ketani, but he didn't learn shaloi nizbechu, that it wasn't geshachten lishman. That would mean that it was stama. When you say you would, the first lesson is kol hazvachim shenizbechu, he shachted, but how did he shacht it? Shaloi lishman. Doctor with the wrong kavanah. But the second way, if he would have learned, but he didn't learn, it wasn't shaloi nizrechu, it wasn't geshachten lishman, which means stama, that means stama. So he says, so only which one did the Mishnah passel? Only if, like the first words, kol hazvachim shenizbechu, shaloi lishman, specifically shaloi lishman doesn't passel. But if it was stam, if he said shaloi nizbechu lishman, that would be l'chayda kasha. So if you want, that's how you're learning a deal. I'm going to ask you a stira, gabi get. So nami hakatani, by get we also learned kol haget shenichla shaloi l'shem isha. Any get that was written not for that woman, meaning specifically for, he's saying, I'm not writing for this woman, I'm writing for that woman, l'shem isha acheres, v'loi ketani shaloi.
They have the same name.
And they have the same name, right? That's called like taking a korban and you shechen shaloi lishma. Here also he wrote again shaloi l'shem isha, not for the isha that it was intended to be written for. He wrote it, and he had in mind it was intended to be written for this isha, and he went and wrote it for another isha. The loy ketani shaloi nichtav shaloi l'shem isha zu pasul. But if he didn't, but it doesn't, in the Mishnah, didn't learn in the Lashon that if he didn't write it l'shem isha like a stama, he didn't write it l'shem isha, any isha. It's possible. So if it was, and we know even that case is possible.
Also sin. Here it is.
So it's a contradiction. So, by stam, by get is possible, and by stam, by Zevachim is kosher. Says only the makkah is from him. It's not. From this that we learned in the Mishnah. Ketzad, what is the case of lishman shalei lishman? We learned that the Korban Pesach becomes possible if he had in mind two things: l'shem Pesach, u l'shem Shlomim. If he had in mind two karbanis, this carbon should be for the sake of Pesach and Shlomim. So now he has a mixture of Shlomim in the Pesach. So then it's no good. The time l'shem Pesach l'shem Shlomim. The whole reason is because he was ma'ariv a machshava shalei lishma. L'shem Pesach ustama. Let's say he had in mind l'shem Pesach and stam, and he said, I have in mind for shem for this baby should go for Pesach. He didn't say also for Shlomim. He says stam. So he had for whatever might come about, but he didn't say what will come about. Kosher. So then it's kosher. Almastam and kilish mandami. So we see if he had in mind for Pesach and ustama and nothing else, stam, then we said it's kosher. Says you want to don't shani hasam. There it's different. Kol ha'isa, that's a shani ha'isa. He says since lechatchila, when he designated the carbon, he says this behema is for a Pesach, and then when he actually shechted it, he had nothing in mind. So we say the stama goes from chazaka, the original thing that he had in mind, which is Pesach. That's why it's kosher. So therefore you can't. But in a place where the stam was first and the Pesach was later, it would be no good. So you don't have a raya about stama. It says you want to element sefer only from the sefer. It says shaloi lishman v'lishman. First he took the one shaloi lishman l'shleim shlamim, and then he did l'shem Pesach. The l'shem shlamim l'shem Pesach. There we say it's possible. Stama l'shem Pesach. But what's if the first one was a stama, and the second one's a shem Pesach? Kosher, it's kosher. So here you have an ayah, stama and Pesach. Even though the stama was first, we say it's kosher. So maybe there it's different. We'll say that the end proves what his machshava hageduma was, even though it was stam, but stam means nothing. So, but when at the end, what you see, what he did, so you can assume
The only thing we know is
that
he wanted for a
Pesach. That's it. So we're going to say automatically that's what his original thought was. Says you have no proof from here because so that's one raya. You have no proof because it could be the end proves for the beginning. So, but what's if it was stam? Maybe it would be aser, inami, or you could say the reason why he hopped on l'shem shlamim l'shem Pesach. I did the tunnel l'shman l'shalei l'shman since he first learned l'shem Pesach or l'shem shlamim, so he couldn't learn l'shem Pesach or l'stama because we'll say, like we said before, that what he had in mind at the end proves what he had in mind at the beginning. We put it out the chazaka. So that's why. So he couldn't have a stam at the end. That's why Tana Nami. That's why he learned the sefer Shalei L'Shman L'Shman, meaning L'Shem Shlam L'Shem Pesach. He said he wanted to coordinate the Mishnah with the same words. The beginning was L'Shem Pesach L'Shem Shlamim, and the reverse you couldn't make L'Shem Pesach L'Stama because L'Stama will mean Pesach. So what did he have to do? L'Shem Pesach. So you have to do L'Shem Shlamim L'Shem Pesach.
Because if he says Pesach and then
Stam, then it's automatically Pesach, right? So you have to say the only way to uniform the Mishnah is to bring the reverse. The Mishnah Reish is talking about L'Shem Pesach L'Shem Shlamim, and the Sefer is L'Shem Shlamim L'Shem Pesach. Okay. Says Gemara Elam Yehal. Only the mark is from here. It says L'Shem Shisha Dvarim Hazevach Nishbach. The one who shachs the carbon has to have in mind 6 things. L'Shem Zevach. He has to have in mind when he's shachting the carbon that he's shachting it for the oil. When he's shachting, he has to already have in mind he's doing it for an oil. L'Shem Zevach. He has to say Ruven. Oh, it's Hakatas. It's a oila for Ruven. He cannot say, okay, I'm doing it for oila. It's not going to work. He has to have the specific malabas. l'shem the person. The third one, l'shem Hashem. He has to have in mind l'shma for l'shmei shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. L'shem ishim, on the condition to burn the fats in a fire, and not on the condition to roast, to burn. He has to have in mind eish nitzli. L'shem reyach, on the condition.
It's also Islam.
Yeah, but tzli is roasting, and fire is not.
It burns stronger.
He says that you put on the fire, not that you put on a spit and you roast it, turn it around. Okay, l'shem reyach hamanas, to burn it in a way that there should be a reyach, and not that you should roast it before and then you can't get reyach. You have to l'chatchila put it on the fire, and it shouldn't be roasted from before, so that there should be a reyach from the carbon. L'shem nechoyach hamanas, that it should be a nachasua for Hashem, meaning that you're doing it because the Eibishter told you, and you're doing His will. V'achatas v'asham, he has to have l'shem chet, to be mechaper on that specific sin that he did. Rabbi Yossi said, even if he didn't have in mind any of these 6 things, kosher, it's still kosher. Why? Because Bezdin said you don't have to mention it. Because once you mention it, you can make a mistake. You can say by mistake the wrong carbon words. I played the spell. Could ruin the whole carbon. It's best in Schweig. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Asnu Bezdin, the Loilema Lishmai. Bezdin was Misachim, that he shouldn't say Lishma for which carbon. Dilma Asilamema Shaloi Lishmai. Perhaps he's going to make a mistake, and he's going to say the wrong carbon, and he'll ruin the whole thing.
So what should he do? To say
Keep quiet, and Bezdin says it's automatically those 6 things are in his head.
he does it stam.
Yeah, that's good enough. Now, but stam apostle. But if it's going to enter your mind that stam is apostle, Kaimu Bezdin umaistri milsa the mitzvah. Bezdin would institute something that which is stam is apostle. How could they institute stam that he doesn't have to say anything? It's apostle. Zaraya that it's stam is kosher. Where do we see by get that stam is apostle? The gabe get we know stam is apostle. The gabe get the stam apostle from where do we know that? It says if you're going to say the marker is from every get that was written stam, not for any specific woman, is possible. Let's say somebody was walking in the shuk, V'shama Seifim, and he heard the sound, the voice of the scribes writing Gittin, Makrim, and they were reading the words of the get. Ish ploini, Girish es ploini, Mimakim ploini. And that person was saying to himself, "Woo, this is perfect for him. He can use it." He says, "This is my name, and this is my wife's name. Oh, it's perfect." And he wanted to be Megadish with this get. Possible Megadish by. It's possible to divorce with this get because it was written stam. It wasn't written for this man and woman. So you see, stam by get is possible. Says Gemara, no, maybe Dilma Kli Papa. Maybe it's like a Papa. Dami Papa. Halcha b'seif ma'asuyin l'Islami askinan. Here was talking about that they were learning how to write. There wasn't Mechlal to write stam just in case somebody needs a get. There he's teaching them how to write. We said Ma'asuyin l'Islami askinan. It was not written at all as a get.
So therefore it's a good get?
Therefore it's no good. It was written Islamic. If it would have been written as a get, and in the future they would find somebody with the same names, maybe the get would be good. You have no proof from
The
this.
Sefer don't have